Hello, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you here. And I'm going to read a little message from Merle. Unfortunately, her flight was canceled. She had this long planned trip to Newfoundland, Canada. And the only flight that she could get on left 8:30 this morning. So she is unfortunately on a plane. And she left me a little message. It said, "It sure hurts me to be missing this meeting that I have so looked forward to." So I'm going to read an introduction that she sent me so that she can participate in her own way. And here it is. She says, "Have you ever been to the Adirondacks? Have you ever heard of the Wild Center near Tupper Lake? I highly recommend that you put the Wild Center on your bucket list and plan to get there ASAP. At indoor aquatic exhibits featuring native otters and fish, and alongside extensive boardwalks that take you into the treetops, your mind and body will be immersed in this world-class, hands-on natural history museum. These extraordinary exhibits will educate and engage you. Don't miss their brand new Climate Solutions exhibit, which spotlights the climate contributions of folks living in the Adirondacks and challenges you to work toward your own climate solutions where you live. As our SAFE mission challenges us, what can we do about climate change? This morning, we will get further encouragement and inspiration from the Wild Center staff members working on climate initiatives. Elodie Link, the Youth Climate Coordinator, has graciously arranged for Yin Liao, the Wild Center's Climate Communications Fellow, and Elise Pierson, the Climate Program Intern, to speak with us. My education team co-chair Pete Lane and I both feel strongly that we need to hear the youth perspective on climate action. How can we elders and youth work together as partners on the climate crisis? How did participation in COP26 this past winter inspire these young women strengthening their commitment to combat climate change? What initiatives have Yin and Elise been involved with since COP26, and what ways can elders get involved working together with them in common cause? So I will now pin our speaker. Yin, take it away. And you are free to share your screen. Or should I be pinning Elise?
Elise will share the screen and
Okay.
I will monitor the chat. So I will be dropping links in the chat as we talk about things.
Okay, wonderful. Can everyone see the screen? Oh.
Sorry, 1 second. Need to reshare real quick.
No worries. And if everyone can, this is being recorded, so if everyone can put their selves on mute, that would be wonderful.
All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Looks good.
All right, Yin, you're up.
Okay, yes. So hi everyone. My name is Yin Liu and I use she, her pronouns. Me and Elise are both now working for the Wild Center's Youth Climate Program, and I'm the Climate Communication Fellows, and I'm currently in Adirondack on the native land of Haudenosaunee, and I will pass it on to Elise.
Hi, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Elise Pierson. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the youth climate intern for the Wild Center's Youth Climate Program. The Wild Center is a natural history museum / aquarium in the Adirondack Park, located in the occupied land of the Haudenosaunee. Today, we are going to be going through examples of youth initiatives, some of my time at the Conference of Youth and COP26 at Glasgow this past fall. And then I'm going to turn it over to Yin to talk about how elders can work with youth. And then we ask that you hold all questions until the end, and we will open it up to any questions you may have at that point. So within the Wild Center, we have the Youth Climate Program, which is dedicated to empowering local high school students to take action on climate change, whether that's building the confidence to speak about climate change to peers or starting a community composting plan. One of our key programs are the Youth Climate Summits. These summits are high-energy, youth-driven conference-style events where hundreds of students from all over the Adirondacks and New York State come together to learn about climate science and make their climate action plans, which they can then take back to their communities and implement.
So now Elise is going to share you a short video that showcases some of the youth projects and they're doing during the Youth Climate Summits, and she's gonna adjust the settings in a little bit so you can see what the youth are doing in the past.
So in that video, you saw a lot of examples of climate actions on a school scale, which is typically what we see from schools who are fairly new to climate change action. However, with more experience and adult support, we have also seen projects such as community composting business. These students at Lake Placid Middle and High School secured a grant with the help of their Green Team advisor, purchased a drum composter, and began processing food scraps. So once the compost is ready, it is sold. And I just think this is such an amazing climate action plan that they implemented, and it's such a huge project. It's very impressive. But we've also had students get involved with local government. So the New York State Climate Smart Communities program is a free program for municipalities where they pledge to work towards sustainable goals and complete climate actions. Once they reach enough actions, they can apply for a certification, which basically says that they're a leader in climate change action. We have had many high school students join committees and help document these actions. And in one case, a high school student actually chaired the committee. It is really important that community climate resilience policies include the values and interests of youth because it adds a sense of belonging for youth, a sense of belonging in their own community. And I actually have been personally involved with climate smart communities. In my senior year of high school, I was able to help the town of Lake Placid register as a climate smart community and begin documenting actions. This is one of the main reasons why I got to go to COP26. So I actually went to the Conference of Youth and COP26, and they were both absolutely amazing. They allowed me to hear voices from all over the world. I spoke on a water and climate change panel and participated in my first ever press conference. I also watched protests throughout the city for 2 weeks. The energy that citizens brought to COP26 was inspiring, though for me it also highlighted the fact that we need all voices to be heard in the climate movement, from senior citizens to middle school students. One of the most heart-wrenching things I saw at COP was a wall of letters written by children from 5 years old to about teenage years, speaking about why climate change action was important to them and asking world leaders to take a stand for their future. In short, these experiences reminded me why we all need to take action on climate change, what we all have to lose, and what we can still save. However, none of that would have been possible without the support of my mentors at the Wild Center and in my school. In fact, I wouldn't have done any of the climate projects that I did in high school if my high school teacher had not invited me into the environmental club in the first place. It is essential for adults to partner with youth on this issue, and even though it can seem like you don't know where to start, reaching out is always a good first step. So now I'm going to turn it over to Yin to talk about some tips for partnering with youth.
Okay, thanks, Elise. So why we need our elders? That I think that the climate movement, first of all, needs both generations. That both the younger and older generations definitely have different things to offer. And I like one of the quotes from the article, which is the power of inclusive intergenerational climate activism. The article says that changes in perspectives that come with time and experience are among the reasons why to the climate movement. To combine that living and learning is to expand the reach and meaning of the message exponentially. So I think that it's really important that we as a youth, and then when we planning and doing projects and working on climate change, we want elders to join us. And we also want you to think about some of your specific strengths. What do you enjoy doing that you are actually good at? And I have listed some of the most common things that our elders have that are generally, you can like, as an example, you can think about. So elders often have like unique stories and knowledge, especially you have the experience of your community in the past that we as younger people, we just have not experienced it, or we just not been born. And elders oftentimes have denser and richer networks from your work, from families, from other activities you're doing. So you may be friends with some of the people who are the key decision makers for us to move forward in our climate movement or climate projects. That can be really, really helpful. And also elders often had more financial stability, that you have extra money or things you can support to sponsor or fund climate movement or climate projects. So can you go to the next slide? So how can elders work with youth? First, we wanted to know that, as I said before, when we are doing something with climate movement, we definitely want to hear your voice, to have your own unique perspectives, skills, and knowledge when we are doing something. So it's important for you to stand with us for climate actions and things we're working on for climate change. So you can think about how you can support youth climate project, or how you can be involved and be part of us. And we would like to think about to support each other while we are working, because climate change is really challenging and it definitely needs all of us to be working together. And we also want you to acknowledge that there's a power dynamics between the elder and the youth, because oftentimes our teacher, our parents, our professors, or our supervisors are often the one that are older than us, and they're often the one they are talking, they're teaching, and they're making decisions. But in the climate movement, a lot of projects are actually youth driven and youth initiatives. So we want to acknowledge that we are actually motivated and we are passionate about climate change, that we need you to leave a lot more space for us so we can make decisions and we can be initiative and lead the projects. And also at the end of the day, we want you to have fun and enjoy the process with us. We want you to be open-minded so we can talk and brainstorm a lot of other possibilities and things we can work on or we can do. And at the end of the day, we all have a good time, because climate change is challenging, as I said before, and sometimes it can be depressing. So we want to have a good time. We might have mistakes, we might learn from what we did wrong, but all in all, we hope that will be a fun collaborations together. Can you go to the next slide? So what is the next steps that you can do? We kind of brainstorm and think about some of the things we can do together. And also I'm gonna drop some links of resources in the chat. I think we are also gonna email those links and resources, because I know it's kind of easy to try to listen to a presentation and also trying to click on links and look at the chat. It can be like a multitasking thing. So we'll definitely provide that later on, and we are able to share our presentation to you so you can have a copy of both the presentation and access to links in your email. So I think you, as a, because you all are part of the SSAFE group, I think it's probably really helpful and just like easy step for you to think about things that you already been working on. So you can invite youth to join your initiatives. Think about any projects or things you're working on, and then you want youth voice and you want people who are younger to work with you. So go ahead and invite them to join you. Also, we want you to think about how you can ask youth what you can do to help. Especially there are already a lot of youth initiative things happen around climate change, and there are a lot of student clubs or student lead organizations for climate change. Go ahead and ask what you can help. And also, we think that we as the Youth Climate Program at the Well Center, we already have a lot of connections with the youth and people who graduate, but they are like still working on the climate change issues. We can help you to connect with the youth if you ever need, say, if you need more youth speakers talking about their involvement with climate change, or if you wanna have more resources and tips to learn how you can support youth in climate movement and climate projects. We have those resources and connections that we can help you in the future. And also, we want you to think about maybe you have more financial resources that you can definitely help fund or sponsor youth projects or a youth climate summit. So this is the end of the presentation. And I want to thank you all for being here and listen to us and listen to our experience. We're really happy that you all as elders are still interested and wanted to be involved in climate change. And before we jump to questions, I would like to ask you to sign up for our monthly news flash, which we will send out a monthly email news flash, has links, resources, opportunities, and something we are doing for the Youth Climate Program. So you can learn how you can support youth in climate change and how you can teach climate change to younger folks who are interested in involved. And we also would like you to follow us on Instagram and also on social media. And I will drop the link in that shortly. And Elise, can you go to the next slide? Okay, yeah. So now we are open for questions.
Okay, I'm going to remove the pins. If you can, we can stop the sharing. I think I can do that. Then we can all go back to gallery view so we can see everybody together. Does anyone have questions or comments for our speakers? And I will look for hands. Steve Woodbury from Collington. You need to unmute.
A couple of questions. You talked about the Youth Climate Project. Is this a New York State project? Is this a national network?
I can answer this one. So the Youth Climate Program is based in the Adirondacks in New York State, but our summits that we run have actually spread all over the globe. So they have Youth Climate Summits are the ones where like hundreds of students come together. We run workshops. It's like a conference, and anyone can run those. So we actually have, yeah.
So you would have links in our particular vicinities, perhaps, that we could link up with through the conferences. None of us are very close to the Adirondacks, though some of us would love to be. The second question is, you spoke of the dynamics, the power dynamics, and I think this is important to, it's one thing to say, yes, in theory, we're going to listen, and a lot of us talk a lot and think we have a lot of experience. It's a little different in working with a senior community because they're not your professor or your mentor or your advisor or somebody else. But I don't know if you have experience in working with either a senior community or a community group that is not, I mean, there's still the possibility for the power dynamics, but it's a little different because, you know, we wouldn't be the professor or the advisor or anything for that. Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I can answer that. And Elise, if you have anything you can add on. So I have not worked with elder communities before, but I think like as a youth, I think that when it's oftentimes like, because like they're like grandma, grandpa age, and oftentimes that when they're in the space, I definitely feel a little bit intimidated because like it's not like really common. And also be like, they're the elders, we need to respect them. It's just like, I feel like I will definitely appreciate if the elders will be more like open and be like, oh, hey, I'm here to, I want to be joining you and I want to be part of it. What can I help? And just kind of like go with us and support us and just like be open to listen to our thoughts and ideas. I personally think that would be helpful. Elise, do you have anything to add?
I think you summed it up pretty well. I agree with Yin. Even if you're not a professor, sometimes it can feel really intimidating, like for high school students especially, because that's who we normally work with. It's hard to say, like in a school setting, you are encouraged to make your own projects, but it's very structured. It's a professor saying, you're going to do this. When you move out into a real world situation and you are proposing your ideas to someone else, it's good to keep it realistic, but it can be harmful if the ideas are immediately swept aside, which sometimes can, like it has happened with adults in general, like not just senior citizens, like all across the board. A really good partnership is incredibly, like it's very beneficial to everyone. But you need to be careful that all voices are being heard. And that doesn't mean like let the youth do whatever they want. It means like take their ideas into account, say, how can we do this? Is this feasible? And then work from there.
Thank you so much. Ted Woolner from Oberlin has a comment or a question. And Ted, you're muted.
Thank you so much for that very informative presentation. I really look forward to working with the Youth Climate Program. Do you have any contacts yet, or have you worked at all yet with the Sunrise Movement, or do you have any contacts with Third Act?
I do not have any contacts with Third Act, but I do know some people from the Sunrise Movement. We actually, our previous intern a couple years ago was from the Sunrise Movement. It is a very nice one. I want to do more work with them. I don't have any personal experience. But yes, that is another one to definitely look into for youth contacts.
Yeah, and also because we're the Youth Climate Program, but we're under the big umbrella of the Wild Center, which is a nonprofit organization and it's the museum. So we are non like advocacy groups. So we are more like a supporting role, or like we educate or like help the youth or support youth to get involved with climate change. But we are not that like campaign kind of organizations.
Very good. Mike Burke, and then Mary Burton. Mike, you're muted. There you go.
Sure, thanks. And that was a great presentation. I think we all learned something from it. The one thing, I was quickly looking at your website and it showed, I think you called them partners, and included a number of organizations that are beyond your sort of geographic boundaries. Outside New York, there's stuff from New England Aquarium, I think, and then you also have some groups that you call, I'm not sure what you call them, but anyhow, like NOAA and EPA and so on. So government organizations, is that because you've received grants from them, or are you actively working on programs with those people serving as mentors, or how does it work?
Yes.
So that's, oh, sorry, and you can.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So we are applying grants. So we have grants from the NOAA. So that's why we are partnered with them, and they definitely sponsor us for a lot of in-person programs we're hosting. And for this like upcoming summer, we are having those like youth leadership retreat and climate change educator institute, and we're gonna have like a youth climate summit in November. So definitely we got funding from them, but also I think that we're working with a lot of organizations not in our region, as you saw on the website, because we are kind of like partner with them, and sometimes we are being invited as guest speakers, or people in their organization are being invited for our program to speak. And we also, there are some collaborations. Our director, Jen is like collaborate with a lot of different partners, some in Seattle, like the Zooland, I think the zoo, or like, there's like a lot of different organizations that they are also interested in spreading the words of climate change and educate young folks, or like helping them to be educated about climate change and know how they can involve in this climate movement. So definitely that's why we are kind of widespread. And Elise mentioned before, we have the Youth Climate Summits, and we have a toolkit of the summits that is being used by a lot of different organizations and schools. So we have partnered with them kind of because they use our toolkits. And also there are some overseas sites, they use our toolkits and they host summits. And do I miss anything? Elise, you can add on.
I think you got it. Did we answer your question, or would you like some clarification?
No, that was great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I think
Okay.
I would encourage folks to go to their website and look around some more. There's a wealth of information there.
Thank you so much. We're going to have to wrap it up soon. And Mary, you had your hand up. Did you want to say anything? You're muted. You're muted, Mary.
I was very taken with the school that decided to monetize composting. Have you kept a list of what the schools that you've worked with or the other state groups have done? One of the reasons I'm asking is that we're always circulating ideas between our campuses of things that can be done. And that might be a next step that our composting campuses might want to look into.
Yes, I will actually say Lake Placid is my alma mater. That was where I went to high school, so I was very proud of them for doing that. We, to my knowledge, do not keep a list. We might have some informal lists because we do a grant system. So part of what we do at a Youth Climate Summit is, as I said, they take their climate action plan, write down something that they're going to do, and then we let students apply for grants so that they can actually implement those projects. I'm not sure. Most of those are in New York State.
Okay.
I'm not sure we would have a list for other campuses. Sorry.
Well, we might follow up with you on even that one.
Sure, yeah, because we have to do grant and we have to do report. So I'm pretty sure there's some list somewhere that we need to double check with our director. Yeah, but that's a good question. I'm glad you're thinking about that.
Thank you both ever so much for sharing your experience with us, your enthusiasm, your leadership. I have to tell you, it just does us all a world of good. And may we be there for you. You'll be glad, well, maybe not glad, you'll be interested to know that we are familiar with what it is to be up against elders also. Not all of our community management systems have been always in our corner. So we are learning how to deal with authorities just as you've had to deal with us on that level, and perfecting our listening skills, trying to be as Quakerly as we can. So a big thanks to you both. We have a full meeting. Feel free to stay around, but thank you.